How you doing? Doing good? Sweet. Say hi, Francis. Oh, yeah, Francis is on vacation. Say hi, Ryan.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to Thursday night sharpening class. We're going to sharpen some knives. Oh, Jordan, can you grab me a beer?
Oh.
Thanks, Tony. I forgot my beer, yeah. We're going to sharpen some knives. Welcome. Here at Knifewear, we specialize in Japanese handmade knives. We're going to sharpen some up, and we're going to show you some basics. This is the basics sharpening class. So we're going to go over, what kind of stones you want to get, how to hold your knife on the stone, how to set your angle, how to feel for burr, all of that jazz. Really important stuff, fundamentals, right? We're then going to have a little chat about some specific knife shapes. Today, I'm going to sharpen this Nikiri, square-shaped vegetable knife. Thanks, Obi. Yep. We're going to sharpen up a Nikiri, and then we're going to talk a little bit about one of my very favorite knife shapes called Honesuki. And I know it says Francis's Honesuki hour. Look, we're really dumb, and Francis is on vacation, and we just didn't change it, okay? So that's the end of the discussion. We're not bringing it up again, okay? I'm going to have some 33 acres. 33 acres of sunshine from our homies down at 33 acres, just a little ways down Main Street, one of our favorite breweries in Vancouver. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers. If there's anybody watching, cheers. All right, stones, knives. So sharpening a knife isn't that complex when you really want to get basic about it. You're taking a knife and you're taking a stone and you are rubbing your knife and your stone together over and over and over. That's sort of like that, right? There's obviously a little bit more to it. Otherwise, that would be the end of the class. But honestly, it's a pretty easy skill and a pretty easy thing to like pick up and get some good results on and build up a little confidence before you really start to get into it and dominate all the finer points, right? What kind of stones do we want to use? Well, that means you have to look at your knives. What kind of knives are you sharpening? So today I am sharpening, this is a brand new knife line, by the way. Anybody out there who's interested in a new knife line, that's what we're doing tonight. This is our Fujimoto Kurouchi forged. These are made out of white carbon steel. They have a lacquered oak handle on there with a dope Kurouchi finish. These are extremely simple, but very, very, very well-constructed knives for about 152 bucks for this guy. So this is a steal of a deal. Right now they make the Nikiri, the Santoku, and the 210 millimeter Gyuto. They both run about 150 for the Nikiri and the Santoku, and about 200 bucks for the 210. And they are absolutely fantastic. We did an unboxing of this the other day. I chopped up some tomatoes, and I was very, very pleased with the results here. So yeah, Fujimoto Kurouchi, great knife.
Hey, Owen.
Yo.
Have you guys done any paring knife or petty demos on stream yet?
I think we have. Okay. We'll probably do another one at some point. Yeah.
She-Hulk 310 was just asking if we could.
I think about a month and a half ago we did a paring knife one, but we'll do another one for you. Don't worry, we're not going far. We'll keep switching up the topics and stuff. But the Nikiri is also one that we get asked about a lot. So I'm going to start with the Nikiri here, and then after that we're going to go into one of my very favorite knife shapes, called a Honesuki. This is a Japanese-style poultry knife, and we're going to talk a little bit about these guys and what they're used for, and the general application, how to sharpen them. So, here's my knife. It's not sharp, and I want it to be sharp. I'm going to start on my 220 grit stone here. 220 grit is pretty coarse. 220 grit is going to move steel around at a relatively quick pace, right? Something like this guy is going to be, like you can hear it when I grind the knife against it, makes quite a bit of noise. That's totally normal because this is like really low grit sandpaper. It's really scratchy. So what I want to do before I start sharpening is prep my stone. So as you can see, I pulled this out of a bucket of water. This guy had been happily soaking in here for a while. If I bought one of these guys right off the shelf here, this is Knifewear 220, and I pour some water onto this guy, what you're going to see happen is you're going to see the stone dry very, very quickly. So I pour some water on here, and the water just absorbs right into that stone. So this is a very thirsty stone. So what we want to do is soak it for a little while. Now, you don't need to soak every stone. In fact, there's most of the stones that we sell, you don't want to soak at all. This is a Sharpen 6000. And when I pour water onto this guy, you can see the water just goes pouring right off of this guy. This is what we call a splash and go stone. So when I'm done with this guy, I definitely don't want to put it back into the water. I want to put it somewhere else. I want to put it somewhere where it can dry off nicely before I store it. Because if I soak that kind of stone, what's actually going to happen is your adhesives that are actually binding all of the ceramic together and start to break down. And you're going to end up with cracking and wetting on your stone. So step number one, take a look at your stones, test them out, see what happens when you pour water onto them, and go from there. If they absorb water, soak them. If they do not absorb water, do not soak them. Generally, you want to soak stones for about 20 to 25 minutes, but some stones vary. So play around with a little bit, keep an eye on them, see what's going on with them, and as soon as they stop absorbing water, they're ready to go. Make sense? Cool. So here's my 220 grit. I'm gonna pop this guy up here. I'm actually gonna use a stone holder. I really like using a stone holder. This guy here, this is the Knifewear stone holder. This guy's 33 bucks. They are more or less completely universal for all stones. Very simple design here. Just a sort of a rubber couple of feet and a couple of screws that come onto either side. You just pop it onto here. Not only does it keep the stone nice and stable, but if you're working on a tabletop, it raises the stone up just a little bit so I'm not cranking my knuckles against the table here. So what sort of angle should we be sharpening our knives at? And again, that comes back to what kind of knife you're sharpening. Typically, for Japanese steel, 15 degrees on each side. Western steel, typically 22.5 degrees on each side. These numbers are a little bit fast and loose though. As long as you're sort of in the right ballpark, you're gonna get good results. What's more important is the consistency of the angle that you're sharpening at, right? The consistency is going to make a nice smooth and polished and sheen edge that's going to cut really nicely. If you're like way up high at like, 80 degrees, it's not gonna feel good. But if you're sort of in that right kind of ballpark, you're gonna be fine. So don't fret too much about it. Couple of tricks though, to get yourself into that ballpark. These are nickels. Nickels. I'm gonna take a few coins here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 nickels is perfect for Japanese knives. I'm gonna take a stack of 3 nickels here. 1, 2, 3, 15 cents. 1 cent per degree, right? I'm gonna pop this guy down onto my stone. What's up?
I don't know.
Oh, you're just looking at me pensively. I thought there was a question. All good. False alarm.
Well, Mark Laporte was wondering which type is better for a beginner, but I'm not sure what context is. I think he was wondering about like soaking. I'm thinking he's wondering about soaking stones versus splashing.
Oh, there's a lot of different types of stones, and it's not like, have a good night, boys. Take care. And it's not like one type of stone is better for a beginner or not. A lot of stones that are low grit, like this 220, like almost all 220 grit stones are soaking stones. There's a few exceptions to that. Generally speaking, splash and go stones are just easier to use. So if you can get like a set of Sharpens or a set of Knifewear Pros, those are better stones and they last longer and they're easier to keep flat. But this is a $42 stone and a Knifewear Pro 400 is what, 89 bucks. So, if you're willing to invest a little bit, splash and go is pretty convenient, but they are a little bit pricier generally. So I take my 3 nickels, 1 cent per degree in nickels. So it's 15 cents, 15 degrees. I'm then gonna take 1 nickel. I'm gonna put it directly behind that stack. So I have 3, and then I have 1, and then I have a knife. I take the knife perpendicular to the stone. I remove what I call the spacer nickel, that stack of 1, and then I lay my knife down. There we go, presto. That's about 15 degrees right there. So take a look at that angle, have a feel against the stone, see what that feels like, and just try to recreate that. Try to recreate that without having a stack of nickels. Francis also likes to put like magnets, if you can get little coin magnets onto your knife, so you don't scratch it down on the stone, so you don't drop your angle too low. But I think you should probably just practice. I think practice is the best way to do it. Water is your stone's best friend. Get yourself a bucket of water or a bottle of some kind and keep that stone nice and lubricated. 15 degrees, and then we move back and forth. My right hand holds the knife because I'm right-handed. If you're left-hand, you just hold it with your left hand. But I'm gonna do it with my right. Left hand or your non-dominant hand, nice and close to the edge down at the chin of the knife, and we're just going to very gently move back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I'm moving mostly from my biceps and my shoulders. My biceps and my shoulders are doing most of the work because if I work with my wrists, I'm going to start to lose my angle. You want to keep your wrists as rigid as you can to keep that angle nice and consistent. Hear that sound? A little bit of water. Way more quiet. Notice how I sort of got my knife at an angle across the stone. I'm not holding it straight like this. I'm holding it like this. And that's simply for comfort. I want to have my elbows down by my sides so that I'm nice and comfortable while I'm sharpening my knife. All right, a few passes. Dry off your knife and feel your knife. I'm going to feel for burr. So burr is what happens when you have sharpened your knife a little bit against the stone, right? Some of the steel is coming off of the knife and into the water, but some of the steel is still attached to the knife here. I can still feel a little bit of a lip of steel coming up. So I was sharpening on this side, so I'm gonna feel for burr on the opposite side here. You hear that? Listen when I do it up here. Nothing, right? So there's a little bit of a wall created on one side of the blade that was not touching the stone. It's being pushed to the other side, and you can feel it quite strongly on one side of your knife. If you don't feel that burr, keep going. Keep sharpening until you feel, it's like your litmus test. That's like your test to see if anything has actually happened. So once you feel for that burr, we can move on. Next section of my knife. I work in little sections. Nice straight back and forth movements are easier to keep a nice steady angle on. A little bit of water. Always keep water nearby. As soon as you hear it starting to get a little bit loud, throw some more lubricant on there. Dry off your knife. Feel for burr. There we go. Nice. Keep going. So this Nakiri is actually a very, very easy knife to sharpen. One, this is made out of white carbon steel. And if any of you steel nerds out there know a little bit about white carbon steel, you'll know that it responds very, very, very quickly on the stones. It burrs up extremely fast. It's easy to grind. This knife is also very flat. It has a very flat edge to it, so I don't need to worry too much about doing a tip on this guy. When I do the tip of the knife, I like to swing my elbow up a little bit and sort of point the tip of the knife down towards there. But with this sort of flatter guy, you don't need to worry too much about that. On the draw back, I lift my elbow up just a little tiny bit to point the tip of the knife down towards the stone. And when I come back, I lower that angle. So lift and lower. The more pronounced the tip on your knife is, the more pronounced this elbow lift is going to be. So on this knife, you're not seeing me really getting up there. Just a little bit of an eke up there just to get that rounded tip to contact the stone. There we go. All right. I'm going to come back down to you here. I'm going to level with you. Internet is super fucking hot here today. Ugh. Oh, that's better. You want some? You're good? Okay. That's for me then. It is very. Yeah, right. I don't want to spray it in the microphones. Yeah, it is not pleasant in this room right now. So I'm going to keep today's class kind of brief, because I can already feel myself getting James Gandolfini over here. We'll be doing the class again next week. So actually, we won't next week. Next week's Canada Day. But more importantly, next week's Ryan's birthday, right? Hey, happy birthday, Ryan. Next week, we will not have a class. So you're just going to have to put up with me doing a shorter class this week, because I don't want to melt. We're having a huge heat wave here right now. All right, back to it. 3 nickels. There you go. 1 nickel. On the other side this time. I want to do the other side of my knife. I just did this side. Now I want to flip it over and do the other side. Right, touching that spacer nickel. Remove the spacer nickel. 15 degrees. Take a look at that angle that you've created. Say, I got this. Feel that angle that you've created. And try to keep it as consistent as possible. We'll get rid of the nickels. Get some water on our stone. Back and forth. So my burr is probably, already gone. I have run this knife several times across this stone, and that has removed the burr. So now I don't feel the burr on that side of my knife anymore. And now I'm forming a burr on the other face of my knife. So after a few strokes, shake, we're going to feel for burr. Beautiful. We're going to keep going. Little by little, working our way up to the tip of the knife. I like to work in sections. Once you've practiced a little bit, you can start to do the whole knife at the same time, in one nice swoop. But work your way up to that. It's very difficult to maintain that consistent angle working in that sort of swooping kind of motion. So just work in sections while you're learning. It'll make life a lot easier in the long run. You won't develop any bad habits. Again, at the very tip, I lift just a little bit on the back side here. A little bit of lift, and then lower. Lift, lower, lift, lower. But not too much. There we go. That should do it. I feel burr all along one side of the knife, and then I take it off, and I feel it all along the other side of the knife. There we go. Happy knife. 220 grit. Done skis. So what I like to do between stones, remove your burr. So I have the burr on this side. I'm going to go back to that 15 degrees on this face of the knife and just take a couple of strokes and take that burr off. And I flip it again. Couple of strokes. Take that burr off. Couple of strokes. There we go. Now the burr is more or less gone. And let's test our progress. We're learning right now, right? So you're probably not going to get it perfect on the first try. In fact, if you did, I would be extraordinarily impressed. So let's go and just check our knife here. Pretty sharp. It's cutting the paper. We can really hear that. You can hear that very strongly. I'm holding it up to the microphone here. You can feel a little sawtooth edge along this guy because this is a 220 grit stone. So if we looked at this edge now underneath a microscope, if we really looked at this guy, examined it closely, it would look very, very, very scraggly and serrated and coarse. It would look like a little mountain range on each side of the knife. Because a 220 grit isn't really meant for refinement. It's meant to just sort of get the foundation laid, right? From there, we need to move up into higher grits to get a nice smooth finish on our edge and to get a nice polish on our edge to make it cut better. Got a question?
Yeah, Mark Laporte is wondering if we use angle clips to help us maintain angles, and do we sell them?
We do sell them. I don't use them because I am a professional, and professionals don't need training wheels anymore, Mark. I'm sorry. Yeah, hold on.
So facetious.
Yes. This is a Tojiro toe grip, and it is a little clippy that you can put onto the spine of your knife. If I hold it up here, you can see some backwards instructions. It's pretty simple. It's just basically like a binder clip you put on the back of your knife, and it helps set your angle for you. This little white bit here is made out of ceramics, so you can rub it against your stone until the cows come home. Now, if you have an $800 mirror polished Musashi, and you put a clip on it, and you're grinding the clip up and down on the spine of the knife, you're going to scratch your knife, right? So when you're practicing with this thing, use a cheaper knife that you don't care as much about. You probably shouldn't be sharpening that $1,000 Tsuchihiki at this point in your sharpening learning curve anyway. So use this guy wisely and use it sparingly. Use it as a tool to help you figure that angle out. Because if you do become dependent on something like this, it actually causes some problems in the long run, because doing the tip of your knife, it always sort of makes you go in like an arcing kind of motion. So you'll round all the tips of your knives off kind of in a funny fashion if you use this all the time for the tip of your knife. But like I said, great tool for learning, great tool like training wheels, right? $17, knifewear.com.
One other thing too about that is that it's up for the Japanese angle, right? So
it is set for 20 degrees.
Oh.
So it's sort of like right in between. And like I mentioned, the angle doesn't, it's not super important. But yeah, this can be used for both European and Japanese knives.
And it works for large and small knives.
Large and small. Yeah, it's actually two clips in one clip. There's one small side, one big side. Yeah, it's very, very handy. And if you're learning and if you're having trouble and you really want to dial it in with your angles, grab one of these. It'll help you out.
All right, I hope that answers your question, Mark.
If it didn't, I don't know what else I can say. I said everything there is to say about those. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 220. So long. Auf Wiedersehen. Here comes the 1000. 1000 grit is much smoother than 220 grit. This is probably the most important stone, the 1000 grit. A lot of people would say it's the most important stone to have. You don't always need a 220 grit. 220 grit is really, really coarse. You use it when your knife is dull, like dull, or if it's chipped or damaged or needs repairs. 1000 grit is actually usually a pretty good place to start if your knife is in relatively good condition. The 1000 grit is often a good finishing stone for European types of steel like Henkel's and Gustav and that sort of thing. But it's a very crucial stepping stone for your Japanese knives. This is the Knifewear 1000. How much is this guy here? 48 Knifewear 1000. These guys are basically a quintessential stone in my arsenal here. I use them for a great, great variety of tasks. But if I can be frank, I would prefer the Pro 1000, the Knifewear Pro, the big green guy. This is probably the best stone that we sell for a lot of people. Great for micro bevels, holds its shape really well, cuts really fast. It's a splash and go. This guy's about twice the price. It's $109 for one of these, but worth every penny. They're fantastic. But I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to work with my Knifewear 1000. Fantastic stone, $49. Yeah, 49? 48. $48. Delightful. So this guy I've had soaking for a little while. I am going to do the exact same thing that I just did. Quite literally. Review time already. 3 coins. 1, 2, 3. 1 coin. 1. Thirsty. Knife. Perpendicular to that stone. Touching that spacer. Remove the spacer. Plop your knife down. 15 degrees. If you feel like you're not getting the angle right, remeasure it. If you feel like you got it right and then you lost it, remeasure it. Just remeasure it. Measure it 15 times while you're sharpening your knife. I don't care. Time is not an object. You're not getting paid to do this like I am. So take your time and do it right. Water on your stone, 15 degrees. Very different sound. Very, very different feedback. But same principle here. I'm moving some steel around. I'm taking, you can see it very clearly on this guy. I'm taking some steel off. And I am forming a burr. A little slower this time though. Your burr might take a little bit longer to really sort of start popping up on this guy. That's totally normal. It's a much finer stone. There we go, doing burr. And it's probably not going to be as pronounced, a big pronounced burr like you'll get in your 220. That thing feels like a big picket fence sticking off the top of the knife. This is a little bit more subtle. If you're having trouble feeling the burr with your fingers, if you got baseball mitt hands, use your wrist right there. Very sensitive part. And you can feel that burr much, much more clearly with the inside of your arm. Excuse me. Nice sound, eh?
Another question from Mark.
Yeah.
A bit more general. How are we taught to sharpen knives here before we start sharpening like customers' knives?
So we have a whole buttload of demo knives up on the wall. We like to have knives on hand for people to try out before they actually buy something. Now, it's been a little bit funny over the last year because we're trying to touch each other a little bit less, so we don't have quite as many demos going on. But we get trained up on site by senior staff. And I don't know if you've ever seen Naoto's show. He's like the big kahuna at sharpening here at Knifewear. We sort of get trained up by our own system. And we learn these methods that we've learned from our various blacksmiths and sharpening contacts in Japan, all of our friends over there. We're doing things in a really traditional manner, and we're just passing it on to each other.
Yeah.
We practice on these kind of knives. We practice on, I got a whole box of, junker knives kicking around in the shop here. And I would say, 40 knives before you're able to do customer knives?
Yeah. It depends.
Yeah.
Like
some people pick it up faster than others. It's, obviously it's so different for everybody. But it's, when you've sort of proven to the management and the staff that you're pretty good at this, then you can start sharpening Western knives for customers. And when you've sort of gotten the hang of that, then you can start getting into the more advanced.
Yeah, it can be like maybe about a month or two.
Yeah,
maybe
a couple of months before you really start doing custom knives. Yeah.
We usually encourage new folks to bring a bunch of their own knives from home to practice on as well. And offer, do it for their friends and family members too.
Yeah. Trade them sharpening for beer. That's a great way to learn. All right. Got my burr. Lovely. 3 nickels. 1 nickel. Perpendicular to the stone. Move this guy. Down we go. 15 degrees. Right there. We used to have, I can't get a hold of them anymore, these, I don't know what the tool was actually for, those rubber fingers. Remember those things?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
like the little finger cuts.
I think it was for like clerical work to like protect your finger cuts. Those rubber fingers are actually kind of handy because then you can use your finger as sort of an angle guide there. But do not rub your bare skin against these stones for too long. Ooh boy, let me tell you. You'll develop a condition which we call stone finger. And stone finger hurts. Don't rub your fingers on the stones. Rub the knife on the stone. Keep your fingers close to the edge, but don't actually touch the stone with those fingers. So when I'm doing the left face of my knife, because I'm right-handed, I'm sort of holding it backwards like that. Now I have it a little bit more of a perpendicular angle against the stone, like a cross here. Again, this is just because it's more comfortable. You can always see my elbows never really leave that far from my sides when I'm sharpening knives. I like to have a nice relaxed posture. If you put yourself in a weird position where your body's all contorted and your elbows are everywhere, that's going to make it really hard to be comfortable and hold a nice angle. You want to have a nice relaxed posture. Feet shoulder width apart, and just hold your knife in such a way that it feels natural and comfortable. It just takes a bit of practice, and take your time.
Yeah. Change up your setup. Just go with what feels good.
Mm-hmm. Burr, done. Bye-bye. Oh, let's not bye-bye this quite yet. Let's fix our stone. So knife maintenance is important, but so is stone maintenance. Stone maintenance is very, very, very important. If you never true your stone, you'll end up with one of these. That sucks. This is totally useless. This is a horror story, essentially. This is a stone that a customer brought in and said, hey, what happened? And we said, you need to flatten your stones every now and then. They said, oh, can you fix this one for me? And we said, no, sorry, we can't. This one's way too far gone. This is like a skateboard half pipe. So don't let that happen to you. Grab yourself a trusty truing stone. And there's a few different types of truing stones. Let's talk about truing stones here. This is a silicon carbide truing stone. This is the Knifewear truing stone. It is a very, very simple tool. It is a more different kind of ceramic than the stones. Basically, you go in little ovals, you flatten your stone back down. This is a diamond plate. This is an Atoma diamond plate. It's not usually pink. I was just truing a pink stone with it earlier. Little bits of diamonds are embedded into this plate, and this also acts as a truing stone. How do I use this tool? It's pretty simple. First thing you need is your trusty Knifewear brand pencil, $72. Just kidding. We don't make pencils. It's only 56, yeah. I'm going to sharpen this up with my trusty James brand pencil sharpener. Look at that. I'm going to draw a topographical map on this stone. I'm going to draw a little grid.
After less.
Okay. I got my grid. I got my thing on here in some way. I am then going to grab my truing stone. I'm going to put some water on the stone. Notice I didn't have this soaking. You don't need to soak these. And I'm going to steady my stone holder with my left hand, keep my fingers out of harm's way, and work in an elliptical pattern over the face of the stone. And you will see after a few passes, you will see what your sharpening pattern is looking like. You'll see the areas of the stone that are higher, and you'll see the areas of the stone that are lower. So you can see where I scraped away are the bits of stone that I use less, and the bits of stone that I use more here. We have a little map there. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to go until my stone is totally flat, until that pencil is totally gone. Try to use your truing stone as evenly as you possibly can, because if you use like just that little bit, then you're going to start to wear this part down, and this is going to get high. There we go. Flat enough. Good enough there. Easy, right? Should take a minute or two if you keep on top of it. Do not let it get out of hand, because if you let it get out of hand, then you run the risk of ruining your stone or spending a great deal of time with a truing stone.
Mark Report asks to bevel your edge, and sometimes we do.
Yes. Oh, it's a great point, actually. I should have done that. I should have showed you guys. I'm supposed to be teaching how you guys do this right. It's too hot, okay? My brain's melting. Shut up. Truing stone, edge of your stone. Other side.
Yeah.
Done.
It's nice to chamfer.
Yeah. Chamfer, is that what you call it?
I think so, yeah.
Champering?
Chamfer.
Fuck yeah, chamfer.
Yeah.
I like that. Chamfer.
Yeah.
There you go, chamfer your edges. This does not feel bad to do now with my hand, right? It's also, it adds a bit of structural integrity, corners and stuff like that. You can also chamfer. You can chamfer off a little bit. And that way, if you drop your stone, it's probably still gonna break, but it might break less. There's less sharp corners on it. There you go. Chamfer. All right. So that is typically where I would stop sharpening and begin stropping if I were doing like a Bustop or a Henkel. I might be inclined to take it up to a 2000 grit if it was like a meat slicing knife. But this is a piece of Japanese steel. So I'm going to take this guy up to a very fine polish. I'm going to go to 4000. Yeah. Yeah, I can use my 4000 grit. I like that stone. This is my Knifewear 4000 grit, 71 bucks, 72 bucks, 72 bucks. 72. This stone should be yellow, but as you can see, is sadly not very yellow. So I'm going to take my Nagura stone. A Nagura stone is sort of a similar principle to a truing stone. I use it pretty much the same way, but it's a little bit less aggressive. It's basically just freeing up a top layer of the ceramic here so that any sort of gunk that gets trapped into the fine pores of this stone gets let free. It's basically like in this context, a Nagura stone is used as a cleaning stone. There's a lot of different ways to use a Nagura. If you want to learn more about Nagura stones and natural stones and slurries and pastes and all sorts of hooey like that, you can watch Naoto tomorrow. He runs the advanced sharpening class. He's a big, big nerd. Tell him I said hi. There we go. Now it's yellow again. Happy day.
Yeah, Naoto's little thing happens 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific if you're here on the West Coast like us.
Thanks for saying that for me, because I don't know how time zones work still. I am 30 or 40 years old, and I don't know how time zones work. I don't know how old I am. Holy shit. Is that... Everybody out there, can you tell me how old you are, just right off the top of your head like that? Because I can't anymore. I'm 35, right? 1986, February 3rd, 35. That's weird, man. You're not there yet, are you? You're only, what, 20 years, turning 27?
28.
28. It's going to start for you soon, man. You hit 30 and it's a big thing, and then after that, you're just like, oh,
for years already.
I don't know. I don't know how old I am. I'm 30 or 40. 1980 was about 20 years ago. 1990 was probably also about 10 years ago. I think 2000 was also about 10 years ago. 2012 was about 5 years ago. 10 years ago was 20 years ago. Anyway, back to the knives. 3 nickels, 15 degrees. 1 nickel for the spacer. There we go. Now that our existential crisis is finished, we can get back to sharpening on our 4,000 grit stone. 4,000 grit is a pretty high number. 4,000 grit sandpaper isn't like a thing that you see terribly frequently. It's a very, very hard stone. They're typically magnesioid ceramics, so most stones above 1,000 grit you don't see requiring any soaking until you get into really specialized stuff. I'm going to take this guy at that same angle that I've been working at. Ooh, silky smooth. You hear that? Probably not a whole lot, eh? I am forming a little bit of a burr here, but not really one to write home about. Not a lot of burr coming off on this guy. Next section there. Do about 20 strokes each way, just to be safe. There are a few ways to tell when you've got a nice polish going. Take a look at your stone, see the slurry that's being developed. If you get a lot of slurry, that probably means that you're done with the section of your stone. You can also feel a little bit of a tactile change. It gets a little bit stickier because your knife is getting more polished and more polished and more polished, and it's rubbing against this smooth stone surface. It's starting to grip a little bit more, so you can feel a little bit of resistance when you change directions. But there is still a pretty good way to feel for burr on this kind of stone. I'm going to show you right now. So I've sharpened the right face of this knife, so I should feel a left-facing burr. Let's try it off here. Should feel a burr on this side here. But going like that, I don't feel much. I don't feel much at all. Hold it like that. Feel for sharpness. Ooh, that feels sharp. That feels real sharp. And then try the other side. No, not so much. Why is that? Because the edge is facing this way. My finger's going with the edge. Fingers going against the edge. Aggressive, smooth, burr. Make sense? Good. Flip it over. Measure with your coins. I'm not going to do it because I'm starting to die here. I'm getting too hot. How about you? You okay? Going like James Gandolfini up in here. Rip in peace, homie. Rip in peace. When you're done watching this, I mean, you should watch this completely till the end. And tell all your friends to like and subscribe too. When you're done watching this, you should go rip into Sopranos if you haven't already. There we go. 4,000 grit. 4K. Oh, there we go. Oh, what happened? Burr. Going that way now. Sweet. Done. I'm done with my stones. Get this junk out of here. Get some new junk here. That's strop. Stropping is extremely important. If you are interested in sharpening, and let's be frank, you are watching a YouTube channel about knives and you're watching a video about sharpening, you are interested in sharpening. How far are we in? How many minutes are we here, Ryan?
35.
You've been watching 35 minutes of me sharpening knives. You're interested in sharpening. So you need to get a strop. Strops are extremely important. Strops are what makes a knife go from being sharp to being, holy fuck, that's really sharp. So a strop is a pretty simple tool. They're usually double-sided. The ones that we sell are usually double-sided. We do sell some single-sided ones, but you're often going to see suede and you're going to see leather. This is a suede strop. I've treated it with chromium oxide, which is a type of jeweler's rouge that makes it a really nice polishing strop as well. This is the, in my opinion, best material to strop with. There are a lot of materials you can use, like you felt, and you can use cork, and you can use leather, and you can use denim, and you can use your hand, and you can use any number of things. But this is the best. You can quote me on that. These guys are $69, but you can get strops for like $40, $50 as well too from us. We carry ones that are less fancy pants. It's easy to use, just like you were sharpening, but you're only going one direction. You can put it straight down in front of you on a mat like I have here and do that. Over and over and over again, but never cutting into the strop, right? You can also use the handle and sort of work with it in that kind of motion. You can hold it up and use it like that. You can freeform it. You can do under your leg. No, don't do that. Like that. This is how I like to do it. I sort of hold this guy up against my body here. I kind of like it so that I hold this at that 15-degree angle down here. That's about 15 degrees. And then I hold the knife flat. I find that's really comfortable. But you do you. You do whatever feels right. You can work in sections. You can work in swoopy motions. Take your time and go nice and slow. What's really important is that you don't cut your strop up like I did with this one. That's bad. Don't do that. There we go. Smooth. Silky. I can see the edge. I'm looking at the edge on it. It's very shiny. It feels great. This is a very, very sharp knife now. Very, 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 very sharp. All right. Dope. Fujimoto Nakiri. Kurochi. White carbon. $152. Brand new knife line. This knife is sweet. If you're looking for a carbon steel knife to practice sharpening on, this is the absolute best one, because you can also then just use it in the kitchen too, because it kicks ass. You'll be happy with it, I promise. If you're not happy with it, you can email me, owen@knifewear.com. All righty.
Hey, what's our special topic of the day?
I don't know, man. What is our special topic of the day? What am I doing here? Honesukis.
Yeah.
A Honesuki is a Japanese-style butchery tool. Seki Kanetsuge, Fujimoto, and the best one, far and away, Sakai Takayuki. So, a Honesuki is a tool that is sort of this triangular shape with a bit of a pointy tip on this guy. And some of them, like, there's a lot of variety in Honesuki. They all kind of look like this. Like, these two knives, other than the size, kind of look the same. These two knives kind of look the same, but they are made a little bit differently. So this is a knife that is designed for poultry. Chicken, duck. I use it for rabbit. I use it for pork. I use it just sort of as a general purpose boning knife. Instead of having that more European swoopy kind of shape, it's a little bit more of a triangular flat edge, and it actually has like a right angle at the back here. So the back end is used for like crunching through cartilage and joints and stuff. The tip is really articulate, so you can like take the keel bone out of a chicken. You can use it for articulate tasks where you might be like cleaning lamb rack and getting the little pieces of membrane from between the bones. This is a really great general purpose butchery knife. Awesome, awesome knife. They're ground, I don't know if you can see terribly well, but they're ground a little bit on the thicker side so that you have a little bit more of a robust feel. You can get through the nasty stuff. This one's double beveled. This Fujimoto is a double beveled knife. So you sharpen it pretty much the exact same way that you just saw me sharpen that Nakiri. It's very, very easy and very straightforward. But not all Honesuki are double beveled. This is single beveled. This guy is only sharpened and ground on one side. So if you are left-handed, I'm sorry, you have to get a different knife than this one. Because a lot of these guys are sharpened only on one side because the edge on a single beveled knife like this is extremely stable. They hold their edge extremely well. They draw a little bit to the left when you're cutting straight up and down with them, but the geometry of the edge makes it really, really good at keeping itself sharp for a long time, and it also makes it a little bit more rugged and durable. This guy is a much more extreme version of that. Have you ever used like a Deba or a Yanagiba or any sort of single bevel knife? You can see this silhouette, this line that sort of runs around the silhouette of the blade. This one actually has that concave backside, like a sushi knife would have. So this is like This is serious business. This guy is extraordinarily sharp, and it holds its edge really, 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 really well. But it's a little bit trickier to sharpen. If you're interested in learning how to sharpen single beveled knives, like this guy, this is a Sakai Takayuki Garasuki, 180 millimeter. If you're interested in learning how to sharpen a knife like this, watch my buddy Naoto tomorrow. I mentioned his Nerdy Power Hour is on at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard, 3 p.m. Pacific time. He goes into great detail on these guys. Because if you buy this knife and you sharpen knives like I just showed you how, this thing is going to be kind of ruined. It's going to be really hard to fix. So single bevel knives, I don't think they're harder. They're just different. Yeah.
By the way, tomorrow's Naoto's Nerdy Power Hour show is going to be focused on acid etching.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. Yeah. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Quick preview, because I'm way into acid etching. Hang on. We do acid etching here at the shop. What is acid etching, you might ask? Acid etching is a process in which you basically dunk your knife into a big vat of acid and make it look cool. This is my ferric acid station. Look at this shit. I got a big vial of acid here that I dunk knives into and make them all reactive. It's so much fun. You got to tune in tomorrow. Yeah, me and Francis are like kind of nerds when it comes to this sort of stuff. We help put together like the guidebook on how to do acid etching on your knife. So yeah, tune in. It's gonna be dope. It'll be fun. Any questions? Oh, it is hot.
Nothing quite about acid etching. But yeah.
All right, I am ready to sign off, guys. I am ready to go lie down. It is too hot here today. But thank you all. Thank you all for watching. You can reach us at hello@knifewear.com for all general inquiries. You can reach me at owen@knifewear.com. You can reach Francis at francis@knifewear.com. He's on vacation right now, so we ain't gonna get back to you for a bit, or else we'll fire him. If you have any complaints, you can send them to Chris with a K, K-R-I-S, Chris Garbatage, and he will absorb them like a champ, and he'll probably be really polite to you. But he'll die a little bit on the inside, and you can take that with you. A little bit of Chris. Yeah.
Isn't he already like dead already?
I mean, a little bit. I don't know, man. Like, I think he's got like a necrosis in his heart or something now. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
And Naoto and Francis are both on social media as well, primarily Instagram.
Yeah.
So you can follow Naoto at Naoto KW. He posts a lot of his extreme sharpening and repair jobs.
Some night and day
occasionally some
jobs.
nice food too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's a good cook. I mean, he's okay. He's like a 10 out of 10 sharpener. I'd call him like a 7.5 out of 10 cook. You watching, Naoto?
And,
and don't forget, follow, like, and subscribe here, but follow us on TikTok too. We got a TikTok channel. It's not just for kids anymore. It's dope, man. We have like their editing tools are amazing. Francis makes the sickest memes. Yeah, just flow through them all, and you'll see us doing goofy shit. It's a lot of fun. So go like us on TikTok as well. Got anything else? Any other last minute questions here before we sign off?
No, looks like everybody's pretty chill.
I fucking nailed it, eh? Not a single question at the end. All right, bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.